So nicotine is a psychostimulant. However, it's got very complex effects. It acts at the nicotinic cholinergic receptor. It's a plant-derived drug from the tobacco plant, which actually sort of generates it as an insecticide because it'll kill things that try to eat the leaves of the tobacco plant. In fact, places like Kentucky, where they grew lots and lots of tobacco, and before we had, better labor laws regarding child labor, like a lot of young people would get actually exposure to those leaves, and they would, it would go transdermally, and could make people very, very sick. It's actually quite toxic. There's significant danger, for example, for dogs or children, or anybody puts like cigarette butts, for example, into their mouths and consumes the nicotine, because it could literally kill you. It acts at these nicotinic cholinergic receptors that we've learned about, and they have this property where they will desensitize with overstimulation, and when they do so, they no longer respond, and we'll see that they're very, very heavily localized at the neuromuscular junction, including projections out to the diaphragm, where you can breathe. And they can, if the nicotinic cholinergic receptors desensitize and stop listening, to the acetylcholine there, well, then you're gonna asphyxiate. You're gonna die, and that's how insects get killed. And there's a whole class of drugs that are known as neonicotinoids. It's a class of what they call they're pesticides. They're aimed at killing bugs, and they basically are derivatives of this drug. So when you're smoking a cigarette, you're consuming a toxic pesticide that's been decimating bee populations and damaging healthy insect populations as well. And the administration of nicotine is via inhalation, right? And that's actually an extraordinarily rapid method of drug administration, because when you breathe in, you've got this extraordinary surface area in the lungs across which the nicotine gets absorbed into the blood. And this blood that's in the lungs is actually coming from the heart, right? It's deoxygenated blood coming from the heart, gets oxygenated, but also gets all this nicotine, goes back to the heart, and then gets pumped up, through the aorta, into the carotids, into the brain, very rapidly. And it's like 10 to 20 seconds, it's estimated. And that's faster than delivery, by IV injection, where you put it into like a vein, right, which has ultimately got to get to the heart and then go to the lungs and then go back to the heart and then up to the brain. So smoking, cigarettes, cigars, consuming nicotine, via this inhalation method is an extraordinarily rapid way of delivering, a toxic pesticide directly to your brain.